Special Operations, Covert Ops, Espionage, The Team House, with your hosts, Jack Murphy and David Park.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Team House. This is episode 110. I'm Jack Murphy here with co-host Dave Park. Our guest tonight is Jay Neumann. He served in the Russian FSB, the Russian Security Services. He is, for real, one of those scary Russians you keep hearing about in the media all the time. Before he defected and came to the United States, and now lives here with us. And you know, we've interviewed many different people from many different walks of life on this show. People who served as special operators, Green Berets, Navy SEALs, CIA officers. We've never had somebody on here from the other side. So I really want to thank you for coming on the show today, Jay, and we're really looking forward to hearing some of your insights and your story.
And yeah, that's true that not so many people like me outside Russia who are still alive. So really enjoying being here with you.
Yeah, thank you. And of course, we should mention up front that, you know, you're also an author. You've worked on a comic book called Red Atlantis that I read, and also the comic book right behind you, which mine I left at home, I'm afraid, but I just read it this week, called Almost American, which it's sort of a novelization of your life story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's inspired and based on true events. We try to stay as close as possible to how it was. Specifically in Almost American story starting in Dominican Republic, but you will see some flashbacks back to Russia, but our main focus is about just our journey, my wife and I. It's just like how two people are going through this challenges and some really interesting events here and in Russia as well. And I think it's a pretty good read. And Ron Martz is a writer. He's amazing. He's one of the best. He did a great job. What I can say. I guess he found the right way how to tell the story. So guys, if you like, just buy it and you can read it. That's really cool.
Well, I would like to, have you tell us, just like we ask all of our guests, what your origin story is, kind of your upbringing in Russia, and what sort of led the way for your path into governmental service.
Well, in the beginning, pretty old-fashioned way. It's like guy from the old boys club. Almost not my choice to join the service. It was more. Decision was made for me. I can't say I had so many options, but I had to go this way. In Russia, just like in Britain and early days here in States, system prefer to fulfill itself from the system itself. It's at some point you have some benefits out of it, but at the same time you have lots of pressure and you kind of owe to the system. And you have to work twice harder than other people who never had any connections with this organization with three letters before. So I, right after the high school, I went to FSB Academy, which is former KGB high school. I was age between like 16 and 17. Then after 5 years of training, I graduated with specialization as investigator, and my specialization investigate crimes and espionage. During my academy years, I already went, in the US, I'm gonna call it like internship, but we're gonna call it as a practice, into the active investigative unit. So I already from second year in academy, I already was was involved in some investigations. As a junior investigator or in training. It was kind of really cool and great experience. So you have to work with the people who are top of the line, and especially in the field of espionage. I met really interesting people, let's say, who've been sitting on the same side of the table as I am, and then the opposite side of the table as well. So among them, some people who went for training here in States and in Britain, and some people whom they recruited among Russian citizens to work for them. Mm-hmm. That's one of the kind experiences. And the kind of really interesting part to be investigator in espionage and in with the training in counterintelligence. You're not only learning the way how to investigate cases. You're not just a lawyer. You are counterintelligence professional. At the same time, you have to learn basics of methods and techniques, basically tradecraft of people against whom you're working, the foreign spies as well, and you have to dig down into it a lot. And more you're working, more you're learning. So I guess, and then after graduation, I spent several years working in this unit. Honestly, it's really exciting work at some point, but at the same time, it's lots of paperwork, and you have to dig into the piles and piles of books and cases and the files. It's a lot of legal routine and bureaucracy, which kind of not really my favorite part of this work. So at some point, I just kind of decided I want to be an operative. I just want to go to the operative unit and work there. And I was transferred. I can't say it was easy, but yeah, the decision was made, and I was working and assigned as an operative to Department Directorate K. It's in Department of Economic Security of FSB, providing counterintelligence support and work in the line of credit and finance, specialization, precious stones, precious metals, rare materials, radioactive materials.
Yeah, if I can just pause right there for a moment to kind of get the audience up to speed, make sure, even I'm sure I'll learn something here. If you could take a moment to just talk about the different agencies and bureaucracies within the Russian security apparatus, the FSB, SVR, GRU. So if you could lay that out a little bit, because it's not the same as the CIA, FBI, DEA. The agencies we have in America are just kind of different in so many ways. So I was wondering if you could kind of at least give us a thumbnail sketch of what these different bureaucracies do.
Well, I mean, I can't say not much about the GRU, just military intelligence. They are extremely classified and protective about what they do and where are they doing. We even have a joke about that in FSB, you're pretty sure operative, you know what's going on in other unit. In SVR, people don't know what's going on in the nearby desk. And in GRU, they have no idea what the hell they're doing at all. That's just... But it's kind of a joke, but reality is they are top-notch professionals, and GRU guys are pretty effective. But I never worked with them, don't know much about it. As for SVR, it was a former main directorate 1 inside the KGB system, so primarily focus on illegal operations and illegal intelligence outside the Russian Federation. As for FSB, it's more... you can't compare it with FBI. FBI has some functions as an FSB, but overall FSB ability of work and the way job is done is more like internal CIA, if you want to refer to the United States. Besides that, FSB is doing some work outside of Russia as well. I guess it's not, maybe it's a surprise for some people, but I guess people who are in the topic, they knew about it from the Cold War era. So second main directorate, and nowadays the FSB itself doing some work outside of Russia as well. Primarily, of course, focuses on counterintelligence, but counterintelligence not just trying to catch some foreign spy, but providing counterintelligence support for all lines of kind of government, all the branches of government in Russia, and including business entities as well. So as for kind of what I was doing specifically, you working as a counterintelligence operative in a line of finance, credit, and finance. So people might think that what the hell spies can do with the credit and finance, how this related to some art and some precious metals, precious stones, or some rare materials. But you guys would be surprised, but there's a lot of the spy activity in this area as well. And there are a lot of tension, and there are a lot of state secrets which you have to protect, and a lot of guys who are trying to get the secrets from your country.
Right.
As a job, as a main job, you're not just sitting with some paperwork, or you're not working as an accountant, just going through some text forms and files. No, you basically creating your own network of sources and informants inside your line of work. So you have to recruit Russian citizen and a foreign citizen as well. In my case, it were businessmen, some art dealers, people who've been involved in producing and creating some really expensive jewelry, people who've been working with precious stones, like diamonds, for example, diamond dealers. You have to recruit them, work for you, and of course, you are kind of main focus and the main task for them. You need information about potential spy activity from other countries as well. Maybe guys are trying to infiltrate Russia through them. Yeah, that's kind of overall view. It's like in a brief form without going into any details. But you are creating your own network of sources working for you. And by the way, as a terminology, when I am saying agent, I mean the source. In Russian terminology, agent is a source. It's not someone who's working for the state. As for recruiting, that's a really interesting moment as well. People, I'm sure they don't know, but I mean, with the FBI, it's more like a legal contract when they are recruiting informant work for them. It's several, at least like 5, 6, whatever it is, 10 pages, and they have to prolong it every year and such and such. When an FSB, it calls подписка or subscription. Basically, it's a life-term subscription. It's there's no such thing as a contract. You working with a person or candidate whom you want to recruit. This might take some time, from several months up to a year or so, even longer. Then finally, when person is ready and you think he's or she is ready to be recruited, you're going to approach her. And person's supposed to write down with his or her own hand on a piece of paper, just one paragraph, that they are willing to cooperate with Russian State Security Agency based on a moral patriotic base or some any other base if they want. They are willing to provide information, follow the tasks, then basically keep the all information in secret, and then just signature and code name which they want to use for communication. That's it.
And then if they don't volunteer to do that, do you have the authority to have a very long discussion with them until they decide that it's in their best interest to volunteer?
No, you're not going to push anyone to do so. It's like signing with the devil. Basically, a person's supposed to make a step voluntarily, so you have to do it. You have to make a choice on your own. And no one gonna try to push anyone to sign anything. Again, based on what I saw, what I learned, what I was doing, you have to study person first, like profiling. You're collecting the information. You're going through the whole background, him, her, full family background, spouses, everything. So whatever you can take, even medical record works. So you need to figure out everything and know everything about the person. Then you're going to engage into, it's like a different form of art, how to build this relationship. It's on the edge of being friendly and a business. So you know that you're going to use this person in for your state, and person supposed to do some things, at some point maybe risk their life as well. So you are developing relationship, you're studying person, you're learning who this person is. And after all, when you think it's person is ready, you're going to approach with such offer. And then it's up to the person. Sometimes person going to say, I'm willing to cooperate with you guys. I'm more than happy to be helpful for the state and what you guys doing. And this is related to foreign citizens and Russian citizens as well. But I don't want to sign anything because I'm just afraid for my life and I'm afraid that something goes wrong. In this case, it's fine. Person can stay as a trusted contact. But again, this should be negotiated and discussed between operative and his supervisors. But after all, some people are cooperating without signing anything, or they're just going to stay in the status of just a candidate for recruitment, as long as you want, as long as you need.
So, Jay, when you said that you didn't have much choice, that that at a younger age, that this was your direction. I mean, I've seen the movies. We've all seen the movies. Like, were you taken from your family at birth, raised in a lab? In an academy?
Yeah, no Marvel or DC movies. No,
no, that's disappointing.
No, it's I don't know. Like how? I mean, it's basically at some point your choice as well. You're gonna have an option. It sounds like we think that you voluntarily should and must go and join.
Right.
In this case, you have to say, well, I think I might. I don't know, but okay, I will do it. So
Do they
uh,
do they start doing their
You wisely
assessments?
acquiesce to party wishes.
Right. Do they start doing their assessments like at a younger age? Is it sort of based on intelligence and aptitudes and things like that?
I think it's. I do think it's my opinion, and as I know, like what I read in the recent articles in the U.S., they're trying to do the same thing right now, just to get people into the intelligence service as soon as possible, because in this case, and give them as much as possible education within the intelligence system, because in this case, from the younger age, you will adopt to the rules. Culture and traditions of organization, and you from the beginning, when you're fresh, when you never seen anything like before, like let's say you never went to the college before, but you just ended up you've graduated from the high school, that's the perfect timing to take you. You're just fresh, you open, your mind is open, and they can put whatever they want in it.
That's very interesting.
They're designing people for the service the way they want, the way they see it. And I think, again, my personal opinion, that's a pretty right approach. It's just like you have kids who are going into the military academy, so like a cadets. So they're going level by level, and then for the higher education. So here it's absolutely the same approach, which is, I think, it's pretty smart and pretty effective as well.
So when did you start your like official FSB training, and what was that? What was that initial training like? And then did you guys split off for your specialties? Like, how does the whole thing work?
Well, I mean, initially you have to go through several layers of clearance, some psychological evaluation, some bunch of the tests, and this is going to go a year before the academy. I mean, look, when they told me you have to go and you have to join, it doesn't mean that I will be accepted. You still have to go through the entering exams as well, for evaluation, for tests, and just go for the exams, same as other guys too. When I was going through this process, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they had like over 20 people on a spot. So like you have to compete with 20 guys. Some of them are better than you are at something, some of them are not. So, but you have to go through this process too. Initial evaluation, which goes when you while at school, like last year at school, you have to go through this process. Lots of recommendations they have to collect. At some cases, they're going and interviewing even your teachers and people who've been around you while you was in school. I guess no secret here as well, and in States happening the same thing, same as in Britain, as I know. Then when you kind of pass through the first layer, you have to go through maybe pre-academy like a training program. It's about a year as well, just to understand the what you're going to face during the entrance exams. Then after that, if everything is fine, you are kind of healthy mentally, physically, and you are willing to learn, you're going to go through the entry exams. It's about a 2 weeks long process, if I'm correct, because guys, it was so long ago. I'm not sure. It was 1 week. Within 1 week is done, or 2 weeks. Again, guys, this was 1996. That might change right now.
Sure.
So it's just my personal experience. I can't say what's going on right now. Then you have to go through these exams, and it's not like ABC tests. What we've been going through, it's an exam when you have a ticket, and a ticket you have to randomly pick. You have like tickets on a table. They're just upside down. You're going to pick one. There are several questions in it, plus the technical task, and it's all related, like Russian language, Russian culture, literature, history, language, foreign language, some basics on the legal stuff, and I think it was something else as well. So, and then you have a written exam as well. So when you got a ticket, you have to prepare. Then you go inside the room, 5 more guys like you sitting there, plus the commission. It's not just one teacher, there are 4 or 5 teachers. So then it's your turn, you're gonna go, you have to talk to them. They're not expecting for you just to give them ABC, so you have to talk and express and answer on all these questions. After that, if they're not satisfied, or even they're satisfied, they most likely gonna grill you through the whole thing. So they're going to ask you a bunch of the more questions, not within your kind of ticket, but something outside as well. Just they want to see your overall view, knowledge, and basically how well you are educated and how deep you are in your knowledge. So then going for that, then like all the tests are done, physical examination, like you have to do run, how it was running, pull-ups, and some other things. All of this, and all this like a points. You have to collect some amount of points. After this, kind of, if you're matching the criteria, then it's good to go. Then I'm gonna put everyone in one room and gonna say who's got how many points. And then basically, if you are in this pool of people who reach the level, you're in. So from this moment, you already belong to the state, by all means. You have a few weeks just to reset, and then it's going to be the basic military training course, which is like a basic boot camp, as you guys, as you wish. So you're going to go just run wear some military uniform, some boots, some do stuff on a plats, just kind of marching back and forward, just trying to learn this whole thing. Running with the AK all around the place, doing some kind of a basic orientation thing. It's not much of the difference between what's going on here and there. It's just like, it's a basic boot camp. So you have to just get a feeling of what military guys are going through, but in our case, it's pretty quick and pretty short, and just for fun. It's like Boy Scouts club. All the guys in the age of the 17 and 18 just kind of running around with the rifles and enjoying some scream from the officers and so on. And so that's you have to live in a barracks, then go into the field training. You have like in a big tent. You have to use the pine tree like branches on which you're gonna sleep on the floor. So kind of that's kind of really pretty cool, interesting experience. I guess the only one unpleasant thing because it was on the field camp with it was dusty, really humid and sunny. The only way to get a shower is basically go and swim in the tank pond. The other tanks are going for it. So that was the only way just to, but it's quite unhealthy because when tanks are going through, they have the oil. You have some gasoline spots on it. So it's that was interesting. Plus, back again, 1996, it was really entertaining. They used tanks just to drive over people. So you have to get in a hole. Some of them, if it's not like a full-size one, that's your lucky one. So you just can sit in it, which is okay. But if it's a flat one, and if you're a tall guy, that's kind of a tricky. Because you see this whole thing is just going on you, and I'm not sure what was the model back then. It's like maybe like T55, super noisy, old one, and I still remember like they have this nightmare. There's one of the tracks on the side. Because tank was all like was going a bit slightly on the side. You can see how there's like it's rolling side, so it's making you like literally freak out. You just want to get out of it, and there's no purpose for you to sit inside this hole, but kind of you have to go for it. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's it's hard to explain. Like you have this huge, whereas how many, like 20 or 50 or whatever, 60 tons machine just going in the front of you, and that's quite one of the kind of entertainments. So after that, you're done with this Boy Scout stuff. You're gonna go join the academy. So first year, just basically introduction. You just learning what this is about. Of course, inside we've been wearing the military uniform, so we are not agents, we're future officers, and here we're cadets. You're just going through a bunch of the different things, but because it's like 5-year long process, you at the same time getting your master degree as well. So I got master's in law. So it's a combination between the some trade craft, some basic military training, and legal school, like a law school. So it's pretty interesting. So at the same day, you might have like multiple disciplines and multiple subjects, and you have to switch as quick as you can to the different ones just to reset yourself and understand what's going on. There are a bunch of the disciplines, basically almost without name. It's called like a special discipline 1, special discipline 2, and so on. So you have to memorize what this is about. It's like a history of intelligence operations or counterintelligence operations, some specifics how, for example, Americans are working, how American special forces are operating, how Russians are doing this, and so on. It's cool. It's really interesting. It's and then we're going year after year. I'm not sure we have to go like day by day for it, but after 5 years, you're really happy that you're done with it. And you are, of course, during this 5 years, we lost some people. They just left because it was too much, or they were not able to pass the exams and tests after every 6 months. So you're starting in September. In January, February, you have to go through the exams. It's like half-year exams and the tests. And then in May, you have to go through another a series of exams. So sometimes you're losing people, sometimes not. Of course, they're going to give you a chance to try it again and just kind of reset yourself, like do your job and do homework and go again and again. You have like 2 attempts, and then third one it's done almost. Because interesting thing was that you are going into the academy. It's not just like a college. You can go in the morning and just leave middle of the day. You're basically going there about 8 a.m. in the morning or 7:30, and you are leaving this place around 6 or 7 p.m. if you don't have any duties to do. So because it's sort of like a semi-military training as well, you have to do same thing as the guys are doing in a military camp. So you have to kind of be on a duty headed. So you have to do some kind of a cleaning, whatever is washing, carrying books back and forward, doing something which seems no use for it, but kind of you have to, like, that's part of the drill. You can't ignore it because everyone else is doing this. And it's, at the same time, it's kind of a team building as well. Back in 1996, I'm not sure again how it is right now. It was more old-fashioned Soviet way to do it. We even had some duty things on the kitchen. So basically, you have to clean the dishes and wash it and just wash the floor. So just like in the military thing. So old-fashioned way. Quite unpleasant, but I mean, it is what it is. Military training was kind of cool and interesting. Specialization was guys, no offense, but how to catch you guys if you penetrated our lines. So kind of our job was as a contra-intel guys, if it's a wartime or war zone or something, to be able to organize some kind of a small scale military operation to catch some intruders as a Rangers, Delta, Navy SEALs, and so on. So this kind of was interesting too, interesting game.
Very interesting.
Yeah. We even had a joke about this. I mean, in each game, you have to switch kind of to play for red and play for blue, right? And then a joke. It's not what we have in our case, but again, it's our joke from within the academy. So after kind of doing this back and forward for about several classes, one of the cadets asked the teacher, "Sir, why are we switching sides back and forward, like red and blue, red and blue?" He said, based on our line of work as intelligence, you never know whom we have to help, Republicans or Democrats. So, yeah, so kind of, after all these 5 years, and it was a lot of fun and a lot of not fun things. So you've done with it, and you're gonna go to the place where you will be assigned after the academy. Inside the academy, of course, you have some. Not everyone is doing kind of the same thing. You have guys who specialization just investigators, people who trained as an operatives, people who trained as IT specialists, and so on. So it's kind of different branches. IT guys, they're really special. So it's they're not really good at sports. So if operatives and investigators guys are pretty good with some martial arts, some swimming, running, and some doing some crazy things. Kind of guys from the IT department, they've been not really athletic, put it this way. So and they even had like their separate part of the building, which they're never gonna let us goons go inside. So they kind of that's
where they had all the Doritos and Code Red Mountain Dew.
Well, almost, yeah. But I mean, you easily can recognize them, guys with the big glasses walking. So yes, 100% the guy from the IT department.
Yeah.
So
they're just some universal things, I guess. You know.
oh, I mean, yeah. Even jokes are the same. When I was later on working here with kind of consulting with the local guys, absolutely the same thing. So it's a huge difference between the operatives and the IT department. Like that's exactly how it was there as well. So even jokes, the culture, absolutely the same thing. So I guess it's because of the same line of work. I'm not sure how to explain it.
Yeah.
And so you then go through the counterintelligence portion of the training. That was your specialty.
Yes, but with some real specifics. So to be investigator, so that you're not just only trained as an operative, because they more focus on the footwork, work on the ground. My work is more focused on how to investigate these cases. So operatives basically working with the material. They are searching for information on the ground. They have to identify the threat, then kind of put all the tools what they have, translators, surveillance, technical surveillance, whatever it is they can, just on the subject, collect all this information, then evaluate it, discuss it with us. If we think as investigators, if this is more than enough to launch the case, open the real investigation, so which later on is going to go to the court, then that's good. If not, they're going to keep do more work. Then when you as investigator taking the materials, especially in espionage, it means for the person whom they've been investigating, the game is over. So because FSB and the way we've been trained and the way the guys working, I guess right now as well, always was focused on espionage cases. So if someone is busted, he is busted. So it means that he was, and we're going to do our best just to get this person red-handed. So in the act of espionage, this could be different forms. Maybe someone is doing the jet drop, someone is meeting someone is transmitting the signal, someone is taking some kind of information from the hide, whatever it is. So it's supposed to be really 100% clear case. If it's happening, it's happening. So no one is going to do or try not to do anything which can compromise the case or make it kind of unreliable, I guess. So if everyone is focused on to achieve as best result as possible.
That's really interesting. I mean, did they have the same type of evidentiary standards with the KGB? And the follow-on question to that is, were there guys still left over from the KGB who had sort of a different mentality?
Well, I mean, that's kind of interesting because in 1996, there are still lots of the guys from the KGB service, which was really great because you have to learn from the best, which is, really a fantastic experience. As it stands right now, of course, there are less and less of them, but maybe some of them still exist. As the teachers, yes, of course, they will be still in the system. 1996, you have to understand what it was in Russia. It was absolute mayhem, as basically no state exists as it was. So country was falling apart. Country was run by Yeltsin and his gang, as my personal opinion, I consider him as a godfather of Russian corruption, especially based on what I saw later on in the financial operations. Country was in the age of the civil war, first Chechen campaign, which was basically civil war. Then bunch of the instability within the country, extremely active organized crime groups. Country was ripped off by the oligarchs and corrupted government officials from the Yeltsin administration and local guys like regionals all around the country as well. People thought that there is no such thing as future. And the internal feeling was that the country goes, Russia itself, to fall apart just like Soviet Union. That was a feeling in the air. It was really dramatic time for country. I do think, and I spoke with the guys inside the system as well, I think estimate Russia itself plus the former Soviet republics, through the process of 90s, like through this time and through the collapse of the Soviet Union, lost more people than during the World War II, because so many families been destroyed. Some cities and some towns been just wiped out, just because a factory was closed, so people lost everything, and there is no future at all. It was I guess, equal to what was happening here in States during the Great Depression, maybe even worse. So it was in the same kind of unknown situation inside the organization as well. Yeltsin was pathologically afraid of FSB and KGB guys. They never trusted him as well. When I was in service, it was lots of rumors when I just joined the service that FSB might became part of the MVD, that some units inside the FSB, like special ops guys, been moving back and forward, and Yeltsin tried to kind of destroy them and put them inside the police system. They've been changing name. We've been sitting without salary for like 4 or 5 months, which was, yeah, guys, it was mess. I mean, some people who saying that it was like a great time of 90s, they just, I mean, my personal opinion, if I can say the bad word, they're just morons. Because they, I mean, that's they never seen what was happening inside, how it was. So salary, if you can imagine, the officer, lieutenant who just joining the service, his salary was about like 80 to 120 bucks a month. Some person who was selling cell phones in some nearby kiosk can make $400, $500 a month. So on this 120 bucks, you have to feed your family, you have to pay rent, you have to pay, which was almost impossible. So imagine that what was happening in the country was creating this kind of a strange situation when officials inside the FSB and other services, they understood that people basically can survive on what the government is paying them. So just to allow them to survive, they close their eyes on some kind of activity outside the main job as well.
Right.
So guys got involved into some kind of got a private gigs and working as a surveillance or protective teams or security teams for oligarchs or rich businessmen or even organized crime sometimes.
Or of course, I mean, as a counterintelligence agent, it must have been mayhem for you, because that opens up for these guys for CIA recruitment, or any other intelligence service around the world.
Yeah. 90s, it was absolute disaster. Plus, imagine with the collapse of the Soviet Union, how much information was lost. Gorbachev and the Yeltsin guys, well, I don't go into politics. I'm not commenting on the politics. But anyways, so the point is, KGB and of course FSB, after it lost a lot of capabilities and ability to work. In Russia itself, it was like disconnection of what the service was doing compared to the reality, what's going on. Of course, all these intelligence services from all around the globe were operating in Russian soil. That was kind of, I mean, it's obvious. They still had some pressure from the FSB, and if you look at the statistic, which is really interesting, I guess I may be wrong, but several years ago it was an article released. I'm not sure it was translated into English, but maybe it was, about how many arrests and how many espionage cases been accomplished and done by FSB during the 90s. And honestly, I was really surprised. I mean, I saw quite a few of them, so I knew that it's pretty effective and they're still doing the job, but the numbers are just crazy. So many people been arrested on Russian soil. Not that many foreign spies, but as for Russian citizens who've been convinced in a treason or espionage for the foreign country, that's yes. And only one reason was because people, I guess the main motive was just to survive, to make some money, and they didn't believe that country is going to survive itself.
Right.
And they felt betrayed. That was all of us, we had the same feeling that we've been betrayed by people whom we believed all these years.
Right.
Like, imagine they've been teaching you these former Communist Party leaders overnight became oligarchs or turned out and became like liberal Democrats overnight. But for the past like 20 years, they've been
Marxism.
Yeah, that's kind of that was mind blowing completely. Realistically, the majority of the guys who became extremely rich with some Communist Party experience, like behind it, I consider them just basically they were parasites when they've been inside the Communist Party, because they never done anything, but they had everything for doing nothing, just for talking some nonsense. And then after the collapse of the Soviet system, they just immediately switched the side, and they utilize the knowledge, privileges, and some kind of
Like
connections
status.
which they had just to become rich. So they are not like whatever it is, Elon Musk or Stephen Jobs or Bill Gates. They never created anything on their own.
Right.
They stole these guys. They stole it. So you can't consider them as a businessman. Anyways, so in 96, 97, 98, it was 99 and early 2000s was quite a disaster. So just when we talk about the service, so we have to understand under what kind of pressure people were inside the system as well.
Yeah.
So kind of they know, and we all knew what we have to do and for what, but at the same time, you kind of losing this connection with the state which you have to protect.
Right.
Because state is basically doesn't care about you at all.
Right.
You were doing this for Russian people instead of just the state itself, because state betrayed you.
Right. And I mean, in addition to the instability on the oligarchs, you're also almost in this running gun battle with the president. And so, I mean, you guys, it's almost like you guys are these redheaded stepchildren left out to dry, and like do this job, but you get nothing for it, not even a paycheck.
Yeah, that's kind of delays on the salaries and no social guarantees at all. Not even opportunity to get, like, let's say, an apartment from this, like something like where you can live, because back in days it was no anything like a program when you can get a loan and just buy a house. No, you can forget about this. The only way you can do it is just only get a cash, then you can buy it. Wow. Or you have to wait for a state till state can give you money or give you the place where you can live. But so it was so much corruption involved from the state, and it was almost like an mission impossible just to get anything from the country, from the state,
right?
Not from the system, because you can't blame on FSB system itself, because they are really relying on the state and the state budget and the financing from them. So
right.
Yeah, it was on a technical aspects to get some kind of really high-end equipment into work. We still had a few things, but majority, of course, been coming still were like remains from the what was KGB was using. So that wasn't the first. We saw the first difference, the transition from this Yeltsin's disaster into that something is going to change. Honestly, I'm not kind of promoting the guy, but when Putin became head of the FSB,
right?
I guess just because he himself went through this 90s. Again, no comments at all. But he gave this hope to organization. Mm-hmm. And you even can see the change, the attitude change, the mood change inside the organization itself.
Right.
And besides the kind of the social and economic problems inside the country and organization, you also should understand that how reputation was destroyed for the 90s.
Right.
So with this Gorbachev's glasnost and whatever this was, perestroika, balalaika and Russian doll thing. So it's basically it was a huge informational attack on Russian intelligence services and the counterintelligence services almost immediately, because with the idea that now we can say whatever they want, besides the saying the truth about some great purge and some repressions in the 30s and 40s, the people immediately forgot about what service was doing even during the World War II. How many lives intelligence, counterintelligence personnel sacrificed for the country. Right. All of this was just wiped out immediately. That's it, not exist. And from this moment, you look like you just like basically whatever it is, like henchman or vampire who's just kind of trying to kill people for no reason. Right. It was absolutely insane damage for reputation and organization, and of course for like us to understand who we are and why we're doing this job.
Right.
It was sometimes, I guess it was 97, 98. We've got, when we were in academy, some guys been traveling in uniform from home to academy every morning and then going back home. We've got a special order, do not use the uniform outside, it was dangerous.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, it was a bunch of the attacks on the people in uniform. Was so much hate and instability in the air, and of course, police was corrupted as hell. So kind of you can't rely on them at the same time.
Do you know how Putin managed to become the director? Because with Yeltsin being so afraid of the FSB and those units, I mean, Putin was not.
It's a Russian miracle on ice thing, so no one knows. So that's just like that's one of the kind. That's one thing in the century. I have no idea who made this decision.
Yeah.
Who kind of maybe they miscalculated. Maybe they thought that he will be the guy who is going to just basically like a Gorbachev, just kind of put the nail inside the coffin of the country. Maybe it was a mistake, or maybe someone inside finally understood that it's enough. It's enough. We have to stop ripping this off. We have to stop stealing. We have to stop just destroying it. We have to kind of reset it and save it. I don't know. Like that's a great question, and I have no answer at all. And again, back then the main goal for everyone was just to survive and at the same do your job. Mm-hmm. How you need to find a balance, how to do it.
Can you tell us then about you kind of got there and then we sort of backtracked, but about making that decision to become an operative, and about what year was that, and then what did that entail from then on out?
Well, I mean, as you're working as an investigator, you always kind of guys, operatives coming to you because you have their case, their files, you have all the materials. They kind of you the guy who is in charge right now, and they have to go to you, and you have to ask them questions. And if you need to do some extra work, you're gonna send requests to them, and they have to go and just do it for you. And of course, I met a lot of them, and it was kind of really cool to chat. I, as the age of 22, 23, you imagine that it's not your dream job to sit inside the shoebox with a bunch of papers, even if it's super classified and it's like the top clearance you have. But that is not what you want to do, that's for sure. So kind of and the difference between people who are sitting inside the detention center, even it's not like, again, not a Marvel and DC stories. So it's not a dungeon. It's like no one is hanging on the walls and just no one has got beaten like 24/7. No, it's more like a 2+ stars resort. By the way, with one of the best libraries in the country. Here's the reason why. Lefortovo exists for several hundred years. And it is a tradition, people who ended up in Lefortovo, and all of them like white-collar guys, or spies, or politicians, or some kind of political activists, or scientists or engineers who've been trying to sell secrets to the foreigners. They've been all receiving books from their family members or their colleagues. People have been reading this. As a tradition, they've been leaving books behind when they've been released or transferred into some other place. So basically, of all these years, the really great collection of books been kind of settled inside the Lefortovo. So if someone like a spy or someone else ended up there, you potentially within sitting a year sitting there, you can get a second degree. That's just that's easy.
That's amazing.
Based on just a library and the access to the books, and books are amazing. I mean, maybe that's the only good thing about this. So I just got bored, and I was looking for some action. It was kind of cool thing. And again, we all imagine that, okay, you have like a business suit, you have a gun, you have a FSB credential, and you're going to do some really cool work for your country. So maybe I should transfer to the operative. Plus, I want to work with people. So instead of papers, it's better to be around like real life people with whom you can just chat and interact and after all recruit. So yeah, that's I asked, can I be transferred? And they gave me only a few options, and I pick, but all of them like within the same department, credit and finance. So I picked the unit, and they just spoke with the boss. I had a meeting. Seems like they're okay with me, and kind of it was no kind of negative reaction. But they put only one condition, that I have to start, because if you're transferring from investigative department to the operative unit, you have to go with the promotion, because investigators kind of sort of like higher than operatives. But in this case, kind of boss was old operative who served career inside the KGB, told me, if we're taking you, then you have to start from like a ground zero. So which I can say, okay, fine, why not? It would be fun. So yeah, and transfer was completed, and I started work in this unit. And it was kind of, it's interesting. So I was stationed downtown Moscow, building next to the main headquarter building, so to the old stock market building. And yeah, it's kind of, it's cool. It's completely different. It's but started again from the books again. So when I ended up in the office, they gave me my desk. It's only 3 people in the room. I got my own old rusty safe box with all this kind of old cases in it and files. So they basically just gave me a key, and they said, you have to accomplish it all within like 2 weeks. Just go ahead reading. And now you have to forget about everything what you've been doing as an investigator. Now you have to just kind of get into the operative work. So yeah, kind of I spent, my beginning was the same thing as I was doing inside the investigative, just reading, digging in, get some notes. The kind of interesting part was, it was not really great to ask questions to the other guys, because it's quite inappropriate. You're supposed to know all of this. And so you have to learn just on your own, just do your homework. And the only place where you can get some books if you want to figure out what it is exactly, you have to go back to academy, get into the library, and sit inside the library, because you're not allowed to take these books out. So going back to academy was kind of no go at all. 5 years is enough. So kind of I was just learning everything through the process of work and yeah, and the cases. So it's kind of, it was pretty interesting.
And as an operative now, your job is to go out and recruit assets, to recruit sources, agents?
Yeah, that's the main goal. You have to build your own network of agents who can provide you information about what's going on. So you have, in my case, they gave me, it's not almost we can say it like a phone book, with the names of the companies and kind of name of directors, and you have to check each company to find, kind of collect some information. And back then, guys, it was no such thing as like a Google search. So you have to understand, like it's Russia in 2003. It was kind of you have to do all this process physically, just basically go there, or submit some special request to get some information from the data from the center. So yeah, it was kind of, it's pretty a complicated process. But again, it was kind of interesting. I was going and meeting some interesting people, talk to them. Several times I got a call back on my special communication, like operative phone on my desk from other operatives guys, and was saying like, slow down on this person, we already recruited him, he's ours. So kind of, yeah, you don't go there. And then I submitted several requests, and it come up same thing, like saying, yeah, he already taken. Like, what the hell, where I'm going, like what's going on in this? Like, and it's only, we're talking about people who've been been taken by the FSB guys, but police are doing some recruiting as well. So I'm not sure, like you just, it's hard to catch the fish in this really muddy pond when everyone is kind of is fishing there. But yeah, I was able to find a few people who might be interesting to me, and I kind of started to do some search and research and so on. It was kind of, it was interesting. It's hard to explain. You have to be in it just to feel it, like go through this process. It's and then of course, more you do, more you're involved. You go into some operations with the guys. We've been running some Counterintelligence joint operations. You're learning what they do and how they do things. it's always interesting was to watch what surveillance guys are doing. And I had really unpleasant experience driving with one of the surveillance guys because they are driving as I don't know, like it's a kamikaze race. So I'm not sure, it was 100, whatever it is, 140 kilometers per hour. I'm not sure, like 90 miles per hour on a really bumpy road. And the guy was driving with one hand. It's still a stick. So he was driving and sticking with one hand and smoking with another hand. And I made a stupid move. I just sit with him in the front seat. So for me, that was like an absolute roller coaster thing. And it's an icy road, and I'm not sure how we made it to the end. But yeah, that was the first and last time I said, like, I'm going to drive with these guys. So I'm not sure how they're doing this, but they're just completely nuts. So, and again, guys, we're not talking, it's not an American car, it's not a German car. That was a Soviet-made car. So that's like a double the experience. So you have like, yeah, that's an almost uncontrollable bullet. You just, that's flying and no one knows how it's gonna land.
Were you recruiting foreigners or Russian citizens?
Both. There is no, I mean, there's only a difference in the paperwork and permission from the former supervisors. So yeah, of course, I'm not gonna not give you any names, but I had several foreign citizens and the Russian citizens as well.
Who are the easiest type of people to recruit, and who are the most difficult?
The dirtiest ones who've been involved in a lot of illegal activity, because they need protection and they know if they're gonna cooperate with you, you're gonna cover their ass. But at the same time, they're gonna feed you with the most really valuable information. So one of the sources was the guy who was deeply involved in a contraband of really expensive jewelry, and we're talking about some kind of $200,000 per earrings. Stuff, and kind of police was on his ass. Some other guys, gangsters, been kind of really unfriendly to him as well. So for him to be in touch with FSB, it was a blessing. So basically, he was bringing us really amazing information about his competitors and some government officials and people who've been buying this, ordering this stuff from him. Mm-hmm. So we kind of, that's immediate, like you're building the chain, like who is involved and what. And then this leads us to some foreign government official who had a company who was selling this stuff to him as well. So kind of you building the whole chain. So and of course, yeah, it was kind of pretty useful, pretty interesting.
Well, it's interesting because people might think, well, what do art and jewelry have to do with counterintelligence? But it's a huge way to launder money, to pass along wealth, to
untraceable.
Give you just pretty simple basic example. Like, look at this. You potentially the person who is bringing and selling some really expensive art, let's say some rare art like paintings, or you have your own art gallery, or if you're working with some expensive jewelry stuff as well. It means you have access to people with lots of money, who've got lots of money, people from the elites. It's government officials, businessmen, and so on. So for him, you can get access to these people as well. Mm-hmm. Also, sometimes you can, through this dealer, he can arrange you a meeting with someone in whom you're really interested, and maybe you can help this person to buy painting 2-3 times cheaper. Mm-hmm. Help him to get this painting outside Russia. But of course, from this moment, he owes you a favor, and he will be cooperating with you. So that's the form of kind of, I mean, it's interesting. There are some rules, and almost there is no rules in this game. So you just kind of you
mentioned that some like guys would, because they weren't getting paid, and because even when they did get paid, they weren't getting paid much, and they were open to corruption, or they would do outside activities. If it were me, if I hadn't been paid for 4 months and I were dealing with dirt bags who were dealing with fine art and jewelry, I feel for me my financial issues would be over. I mean, how are you doing at this point in time?
Look, maybe I was kind of in a slightly better situation because I'm not from rich family at all, but this kind of was a solid middle class. So I had a pretty modest lifestyle, but I had some support from my family on the money wise. So for me, it was more focused on the work. and just kind of do what I do. And I didn't have this side issues to fulfill. And I was single, so which was kind of it was a big deal too in the beginning. I was doing my work. Nothing was happening. I know that guys had some kind of side gigs and they've been making some money. In my case, was really interesting. Welcome to the system. So I already spent 2 years inside the operative unit. I was behind my desk one day, and my supervisor got into our room, and he said, like, yeah, someone want to talk to you on the phone. I said, like, okay, hell, I have here my cell phone, I have my kind of normal phone, and I have my operative line. The rest, but they can call here. He said, like, no one want to talk to you in my office. I said, okay, fine. Just I've got my notebook and my pen as was. So went inside his office. It was a operative phone. I just picked it up, and the voice said, like, do you know who I am? I said, like, yep. He said, can you be in my office in 10 minutes? I said, absolutely. It was a guy on the level of one of the assistants of head of the directorate. So I went in it. He said, like, okay, now here is the address. Just put it on in your note. There is a company. It's a jewelry company. You have to go there, and they're gonna give you information, and you will recruit them. I said, like, okay, hold on, but I have to do a paperwork. I have to start the case. I have to, you have to do some routine stuff as well. So he told me, like, you're gonna do it later on. So not a big deal. Just jump in the car, go there. So I drove, not far from the downtown. Nice office. I just I ring the bell. They let me in. The head of the company was already waiting for me. He gave me his all personal information and the whole company information, and then just said, like, okay. I said, look, fine, I will be back. Like, I have to go back in the office and just fill the paperwork at least. I got back surprisingly almost immediately. All my requests been signed by supervisors. Like, no need to wait, no need to explain. Everything just went through, and they put urgent. So which is you have to fight to get something happen or urgent. So this is similarities between US and Russia as well. So I've got all this job done within like a few hours. Then going back, and a person already waiting for me with this thing he wrote on his own. He's willing to cooperate. So I said, okay, well, sounds good. Let's just at least have like a first conversation, as you as my source. I want to know who you are at least, like, and what we're talking about. We had a lovely chat. He bought he bought a bottle of cognac. We had a few shots, and then he came to me with an envelope. My question, like, I felt like first idea, like, this is a setup. There's just kind of some nonsense and BS. I said, I'm not gonna take it. He said, like, call your boss. I got the phone, I called back, and the guy said, yeah, it's authorized. I just decided to play dumb. I said, like, well, I'm not working alone. I have a partner, which is true. So the guy said, okay. He disappeared, and then he came back with the second envelope. So I like, what am I supposed to do right now? So I took it. I just put it in my case. I drove back to the office. I put deliberately my case on the table. It's just start to work on the paperwork. Just kind of fulfill all this, the rest of the forms. No one said anything. So that's it. That's like was basically welcome to the system. Then later on, I figure out and I start to check the company. It had directly business affiliation with one of the active executives inside the FSB for the family members. So they just put kind of they officially arrange some extra income for me through the system. That's kind of welcome to the system.
Made it like a de facto FSB company by doing that, I take it.
Yeah, it's kind of you were in or you were out. It's like that's welcome to the system. So I didn't have any problems or issues or anything before that. So kind of I never asked for anything. I was just doing my thing, and that was the way to get you in. I guess you just kind of just kind of buying your loyalty, I guess, at some point, and I don't know.
Well, but it's really smart because one, if there's all these financial issues going on, they're taking care of their people, right? They're shutting it down so that you're not so open to recruitment, to corruption, to everything else, and at the same time, I mean, they're just showing an investment in you.
It was kind of, yeah. That's and no one never asked me any questions. I mean, I had a few people with whom I was in touch and working with internal security guys. No one said anything. Kind of everyone knew what's going on, but everyone was closing their eyes just because they knew that financial situation inside the country was insane. So we're just like, yeah, people. I know the guys from the special ops been providing physical security for some rich people just to make some money, just to survive.
Guys, I want to get. We got lots more to talk to Jan here about tonight. Especially how things started to slide a little bit downhill for him and he had to make his way to the United States. But I want to take 2 seconds here to talk about the sponsor of tonight's show, which is ParWeber. They are a watch company. You can see Dave wearing it right now, showing it off.
Where's my copy?
You want a ParWeber watch?
Yeah, why not? Like, guys, come on. I gave you Red Atlantis and Ernest American. Where's my
we can get you a watch. You want a watch?
Jan, we have to warn you, these watches are fantastic, but they do not have laser beams. They don't have garrotes.
Garrote wire.
Yeah, garrote wire. I mean, it probably is not, it's a high standard watch. It probably doesn't have all the gadgets that you're used to.
Well, I can borrow them from Spy Museum. So yeah,
Nice.
I can install on my own. So that's good.
what this watch does have is a new always-on illumination system. It's the best on the market. It
Yep.
does not need to be charged under a light, or you don't have to press a button. It's continuous illumination for 3 to 4 years before it needs a new battery. ParWeber is based out of Chicago. This illumination system is an American invention. The watch is manufactured in the United States, but they're assembled in Switzerland. Just one clarification. We made a misstatement on the last show where we said they're a veteran-owned company. They are not a veteran-owned
And
company.
they didn't tell us they were. We just thought that somebody who was making a watch like this, who's probably a veteran.
But they are supporting a veteran-run podcast, so we thank ParWeber for
Yeah.
that, and we're really happy to have them as a sponsor. And as an added bonus, if you go to their website and you buy one of their watches, you use the code TEAMHOUSE at checkout, and you get 2 days shipping for free. So make sure you use the code TEAMHOUSE. Hope you guys will check it out, considering helping out the company that sponsors the show and keeps these episodes
Yeah,
coming.
no, it's a sweet watch. It's got like a sapphire glass face. I mean, did you guys all have Rolexes, or did you have like the Russian version of the Soviet version of a Rolex that might blow up if you banged it on something? Like, were watches a big thing in the FSB? Because they were a big thing in SOF.
Of course they were, but not that many people could afford them.
Right.
There's pretty expensive ones. Of course, guys been kind of looking to get something really cool and nice. Main focus was, of course, on some Swiss brands.
Right.
You can see that guys are doing something on the side based on what they're wearing, like a watch including.
Right,
So
right.
some shoes, watch. I mean, you can see how the person's style is changing while he's doing some work. So. It was, and especially like guys who've been working with some stock market or banks, kind of their image was changing dramatically within like a 6 or 7 months just working on this line. So yes, some people who've been smart enough, they stayed modest, but yeah, some guys are kind of been going in a cop mode, just being a police.
Are there any like tells amongst FSB officers, like not the watch as you were explaining, but I don't know, something that like everyone in the FSB has, whether it's a certain type of pen or they drive a certain type of car? Is there anything that like people in Russia would be?
No, guys. I mean, I'm not sure. Look, back then, if you want to buy something, you should have cash, like physically. It was not that many cars involved. You're receiving salary in cash. You are if like. You can't get no such thing as a credit card, especially in early 90s. It was exist, but it was really rare thing. But at least not for the government service guys. So basically the car depends upon how much money do you have. Of course, I'm kind of The main goal was like to get something good. Good, it means the German car, and then the rest is just a car. So, yeah, I mean,
Did you, and I know that you were, when you went and met with people like this business owner, you were declared FSB, but did you also work with cover, could you, if you were out at a bar and you met, you were single, you met a young lady at your local vodka bar or cognac bar. I know, cognac, I apologize.
We already had sushi bars. We already had a normal cafe shops. It was not that like it was in the early 90s, but like in the 2000s it was some kind of already like a wave of civilization coming, and because situation was stabilizing, and I guess the oil price was going up, so it was pretty okay.
So I'm kind of just teasing you.
I know.
But if you met a young
the
lady,
first one.
If you met a young lady out at a bar or whatever, could you tell her you're FSB, or did you have cover stories, or did you just make stuff up on the fly?
This all depends on your vanity level issues and on your I guess kind of IQ level. If you want to just run around and say I'm from FSB, it's one story.
Right.
But in the unit where I've been working, we had cover IDs, we had police credentials as well. So for daily thing, we had I think it was police major from the criminal police, and of course, and I had the second passport as well. So just in case, which matching the police credential, just in case.
Right.
So yeah, that was totally up to you what you want to do with that. I mean, if you're smart enough, just don't run around with it. Like,
right.
What's the point to do so? Of course, sometimes you have to do it, and when you're speeding, when you turning on the red, if you're crossing the two straight lines, if the road police is going to stop you, well, then you have no choice. But they have no choice as well except just let you go. So that was kind of it was a big benefit.
So you have a choice, but your choice is like, back up, I'm with the FSB, go on your way. Yes, I've been drinking, but it's none of your business.
No, you do not say him that you was drinking. Just basically show they say like you're going in official business. Just like don't him get into the car. Technically, he's not allowed to check the car. So yeah, I mean some like old cops who've been doing this work for like 20, 30 years, and they saw everyone, including the KGB guys. They can be a bit cocky and they can start ask you some questions. But I mean, you just kind of there is a I don't want to use the bad words on the YouTube, so you basically can show them their direction and just go.
Oh, you can use all the bad words you want. We're not a kid-friendly channel.
You can tell them that they should go in to the we call it erotic hiking. So that's the best way to say the go F yourself. So that's the
So how you were an operative? Life is pretty good, right? I mean, you're enjoying your career in the Russian intelligence community. Where was it that things started to go downhill for your career?
Well, first of all, when you're doing this work, you're already learning that it's not really everything great in the Dutch kingdom. So something goes wrong. One operation was really interesting. I was part of the joint task force. We had a few cops with us. We had our FSB heavy guys, the alpha guys, the special ops, and several operatives, plus investigator from one of our departments. So we went to arrest and do the search in the house of the police general. So we arrived to, and it's early 2000s. It's outside Moscow. It's really fancy area, and the guy had a free store house with elevator. Imagine this time, like I'm not sure how much you should make just to have it, this house.
Right.
So this police general. So really expensive cars. Like one of them was, I think it was 500 Mercedes standing next to his, like, and it's not a state Mercedes, it's like his property. So we've got inside, we found a bunch of stuff, including piles of cash in the shoe boxes. And one box was really interesting because inside it was cash still packed in the plastic with a logo evidence. So the guy just like that was that bad. I mean, I'm not even talking about some collection of the Rolexes and some the Sean Constantine watches. So it was kind of it was not a big surprise after what we saw already. The guy was sitting in his some kind of Adidas track pants and tank top on a couch. The guy is quite overweight. We've been asking him questions like what's going on, and he said like, guys, you're asking me all these questions, but do you know who my neighbors are? And he knew that we are from the FSB. He said like, he's one of yours. So basically when I get to the window, same as my guys, will look outside, and this police general house looks like a garage compared to the building which we saw outside. It was kind of one of the indications that like you just kind of operating on one level, and these problems for you looks like that. Right. Other guys are operating on a level higher, and they're making way more, and not for their service to the country. That was kind of a big eyes opening at this moment. Then doing more work and getting into more cases, I figure out on my own how it is corrupted itself. And again, it was no sense to blame on the guy who was at this moment running the country, because all of that was designed and built back in the 90s. That came from there. It's like the whole system itself. So I kind of already started to think that maybe I should leave. I kind of shared this thought, and we had some meeting, and my supervisor asked me what the plans are, and I said like, yeah, well, I feel kind of quite uncomfortable, and I thought maybe I should just go and get my attorney license. So because I have master's, so maybe that would be an option. Almost after that, I got maybe in a month or so, I had a meeting with one of the executives, and I got an offer to join the bank. So they transfer me into the active reserve with the right to enlist any moment I want. And from that moment, I became deputy head of the economic security in the Credit Impact Bank. So I guess, any questions about the FSB, because we're already transferring into the...
This is an FSB-run bank, I take it.
Yes, it's. Look, guys. There's no. FSB even before that, Russian financial market was absolute mess, and right in this moment, different parties. It's like Game of Thrones, been competing for financial streams and for control over financial market. So it was kind of fight between the Kremlin towers. Someone's supposed to control something. FSB all the time been collecting the information about financial activity. A guy's been placed in this very special unit inside the same directorate, which was working directly with the banks. They had and they have operatives attached to the banks, and some people been placed inside the banks. But I guess in this moment, back in 2005, they already had enough information to make a move. So they already knew what's going on. And now it was a time to do the classic KGB trick. So when you understand that you can't beat it, there is no way you can resist to it. The only way to kind of defeat it is just to take it over. Right. So you have to take it under your control. That's the only way to do it. So that's why at some point Credit Impact was, I'm not sure by whom, but chosen as a bank which can be this kind of heart of this operation by taking over the whole market. I became deputy head of the economic security. A bunch of the guys from FSB, some of them I knew from the service, what kind of left the service and joined the team as economic security for the bank right now in this moment. We've got a lot of people been connected and who still been working as an active service. We had full support from all the branches we need. And bank at this moment got on board Kulikov, who is right now, I'm not sure he's in jail or not, but who was one of the main kind of young blood money laundering players on the market. Then bank ended up in, and again, just as a structure, bank already was in touch directly with the FSB bank unit, which later on you guys read about the Frolov and Cherkalin. Frolov back then was just an operative who was receiving paychecks from the bank, but at the same time was collecting information from the bank. So to run such thing, you have to understand that it was not just a random operation. Everything's supposed to go on a paper. So it was a real case, like open inside the FSB, but it's operative case. It means that all classified. So all the information is coming. Every step you move, it's supposed to go there and be supposed to be proved by what we're trying to achieve. Then it was pretty simple to understand who could be your best partner with whom you want to kind of join the fight and take over everyone else. And it was choice was made, I'm not sure by whom, but I already was kind of, when I started to work with my team actively, Dvoskin and Myazin, the guys from the organized crime, they already were hanging around the bank. So it was arranged a bit earlier. So, but while we've been there and settling this whole system, kind of a relationship with them were in the process of building as well. So I guess that was kind of a long conversation somewhere on the top level. Who's going to do what, who's going to control what, and whose responsibility will be, and who will be under whom. Initially, this organized crime guys, they came around, and what we've got from the bankers, that they actually offer credit banks be part of their structure, which they are building, which was not completely matching what kind of organization was planning to do. So it kind of you can't just be under the organized crime. The only way just kind of to be like equal partnership and just work together. So after some tensions, which were going for about 5 months or so, which ended up with a really epic stand. Credit Index was in downtown Moscow on the Kutuzovsky Prospect. We've got a call from we had a guard down who was sitting down on the first floor that a few police vehicles arrived. So it's literally it was Toyota Land Cruisers with the police plates and police blue stripes on it with all these sirens on the top. Guys in a full heavy uniform with the machine guns. And these police guys brought Dvoskin and Myazin to talk to the bank. So police brought the organized crime. So in our end, you can see the guys. I'm standing behind the window on the second floor. Kulikov went down, and the FSB guys, Alpha guys, went with him, dressed in the business suits and with the guns as well. So we have police and FSB, and I have two bankers kind of talking about the business, how they should be done. It's 2006 Moscow. So that's maybe you saw this in like in the gangster movies, but this was kind of a reality. So finally, peace was achieved. Everything is done. Everyone shake their hands, and they started to work together through this process. Then later on, some other big players, like for example, Fomin joined the bank. And while this was happening, all other parties, like police guys who've been trying to compete or create some troubles for Credit Impact Bank, their whole unit has been vaporized completely by the FSB, so like wiped out, just because they tried to put some blocks on what bank was doing and the bank partner's been doing. So of course FSB is supposed to put some pressure on them. They open investigations. They've been running some cases. You can read it in the news if you're gonna go to the 2006, 2007. What was happening with some police units which been supposed to fight with the corruption, organized crime, but they all been involved in financial illegal activity. They just gone. So they just purged them. So they opened the road for what bank was up to and what bank was doing. As one of my kind of tasks was just going all around with the bankers, just going to these business meetings, talk to the clients and the business partners. Big surprise was that It's kind of, it's absolutely Wild West. So such organization like, for example, central bank, they've been just part of it. They've been receiving bribes just to allow you to do some illegal financial activity, like cash-in operations, converting Russian currency into the dollars or euros, or just close their eyes on transferring money outside of Russia as well. So of course, such operation require you to do a lot of legal paperwork. So lawyers been working as a printers. Like on a daily basis, you have to come up with you have to buy the shell companies inside the Russia. You have to set up accounts outside the Russia. Everything's supposed to be covered by the paperwork. And also, if you look at this, it's not just one bank. We're talking bank, but there are multiple. It's a chain. So in an ideal world as it was set up, one bank was receiving money and working directly with the clients. Then, second bank was in the middle, which was basically receiving the streams of money and then spreading them again. And they're supposed to go to the end bank. End bank is a bank which is going to commit a suicide, means it's going to be a dirty bank. And you can buy this organization in Russia. It was pretty simple as well. You can buy the whole bank for a number of like $800,000 up to several $1 million in Moscow, and you're going to use it as a dumpster. So you're going to load it with the cash. Then you're going to take the cash out for the cash-in operation, or you're going to spread it outside the country to some shell accounts. Majority of the operations been going through, it's a classic, the Baltic states. They're like whatever it is, financial money laundering layer or napkin between the Russia and Europe, and then of course through Cyprus and Malta, and then forward. So like basically destination was up to the client where they want to have it. Of course, and FSB guys, they all knew about, government officials knew about the central bank. They knew what's going on because they all been receiving money on a weekly or monthly base. For me, it was already kind of a breaking point when we understood that it's getting over the original idea of run the sting operation and basically take over the whole market and then destroy it. So everyone who was involved on executive level, and I was reporting to the guys. So bank was working directly with the bank FSB bank unit. They've been kind of paying them money, but I was writing reports which copy they've been giving to these guys, and then I was bringing the copy to the executive guys whom I was reporting directly. So, and money will go in the same direction. So some chunk goes to the operatives in a bank unit, some money goes to the executive guys. Guys from internal security got paid, guys from special ops who've been doing two things: providing physical security and at the same time moving cash bags around the Moscow to the clients. So all they've been receiving money as well. Then central bank officials been paid too, because without them it's almost impossible. Otherwise they're gonna send commission after commission. They're gonna block the whole operation. So yes, kind of pretty much what was happening, and it was absolutely insane level. And I understood that it's more for moneymaker for everyone who is involved, and it's less about like the main goal, which was, and it was bringing some confrontation inside. Guys who came with me, they started to complain about this as well, because that was sometimes too much is too much. So you're losing the purpose why you're doing this. So now you're already not working for the state, you're more like a mercenary whom they just hired and put to do this job. And what was the purpose? Also, big red flag was when we figure out we had access to, like, you have to understand, we had access to everything. So when my team came to the bank, we had a main guy who was the head of the security as well. He is a former KGB guy. Well, basically, first of all, we checked the whole bank on the bugs, and we found a few old ones which were in place with former owners. And then to be sure that our SSA, we put our own bugs in it. Just kind of, I mean, that's all KGB thing. So it's a routine work. So anyway, so we knew what's going on, and we figure out by all these transactions and with whom we've been meeting where money coming. So a lot of the clients, had access to the state money. So there was state affiliated clients. So some contractors, subcontractors, or some other entities which been receiving money from the state budget on contract base, or even been taking loans from the state banks, and then basically receiving money. Like one case was kind of really interesting, just to make it simple. So it was a big bank in Moscow which took a big loan from the bank affiliated with the state. Then this big loan, big chunk of money, was immediately spread for the layers of the shell companies. Belongs to some people affiliated with the bank. Then all the funds been accumulated in another bank, still in Russia, same, and then spread again through the layers of the shell companies, and then they threw them away outside the Russia, and all of this money ended up on the accounts affiliated with them, family members of the owner of the bank who took the loan from the state bank. It's basically clear fraud. That's what they've been doing. But I mean, I'm not going to bring any names, but this person is right now healthy, wealthy, and sitting in a place we call Londongrad. It was absolute mess. It's millions and millions of dollars are going through, it's kind of we lost the sense why we're supposed to do and why we're doing this. And I guess kind of I'm the guy kind of who brought my guys in it. I was kind of quite vocal about this. In 2008, I guess it was end of February or early March, I basically got an offer from the bank. They offered me to be the junior partner. So here's the dilemma. You basically, your life is perfect. You can take the offer and everything is settled. Or you can play dumb and idiot and try to stay honest. So I took the second one. Later on, it's lead to some complications. Guys from FSB with whom I was kind of in touch, one of them was my mentor. He said that you should not be an idiot. Like that's not the way things are supposed to go. But guys, I was not even 30 years old back then, and you had kind of all this on you. And I said like, yeah, no, fuck it. I'm not gonna do it. Just too much. And I just asked, can I leave or re-enlist back in service? So it was kind of going back and forward for quite some time. And then in May, I got this call from one of the bankers. It was PM, late PM. And the guy who was driver in the bank drove me to his property. We had a really short and really lovely chat. He gave me 3 options, just like I have to do the officer's way, which means I have to shoot myself, which is going to lead to several benefits, such as great funeral, maybe promotion, and some medal, and you're going to end up as a hero. Option number 2, they're going to do it. Some people are going to help. And option number 3, you're going to leave. But you have to understand that leave is the worst one, because you have to take all the shame, all the blame, and from this moment you are the traitor. That's it. It's over. So you kind of, and I guess they gave me this option because they were not expecting that someone who was doing the work I was doing and who was kind of spent all these years in service gonna pick the third one, which was completely unacceptable. So I got back home. I was kind of frustrated, put it this way. And I had a chat with my wife. My initial reaction was, of course, my blood was boiling. I want to do something bad to the people who come up with this decision. Guys from FSB who were with me all these years and work inside the bank, they said, yeah, we're going to support you. And my wife, as I said, like she's the only smart one in our house, and I still live because of her. So she said, like, yeah, well, if you do it, you're gonna put yourself in more trouble, and no one needs to have any blood on any hands. So kind of that's not the thing you should do. You don't want to be one of them. So I guess in this case, when you're swimming in a pool full of shit, you can't stay clean. In my case, somehow I was able to keep my head slightly above the shit, so not to dive in it, not to be one of them, but still kind of doing and being involved in all this activity. So kind of we made a decision like, let's leave. Like, yeah, it's better to take all of this on me, but no one's gonna end up in any troubles except me. I immediately went to see my mentor. We had a lovely walk in the park at night, and I said that I want to go. Like, there is no way. He said maybe it's the right choice. He offered me to check all potential flags on us on the border. He called a few people. They immediately kind of get back to him and said, yeah, there's already flags. So the guys are on the radar. My wife bought several tickets to the several airports. Like in Moscow, there are, if I'm not mistaken, guys, 4 or 5 airports. So we've definitely had like 4 tickets on different directions, some domestic, some outside Russia. All of them within like 1 hour or 45 minutes, like the difference on a takeoff, just to be sure, like all different directions. So yeah, we went to the airport. My mentor said that everything is kind of settled. You're gonna go. We initially kind of left the city, and we've been going to the airport from the opposite direction because it's less kind of road police activity, just in case. On the road, this was, I'm not sure, maybe we've been overdoing some kind of protective measures. One of my really close friends, he drove behind us, and we've been a bit speeding, and had a driver. So police already used the stick, just try to stop us. And then I saw he just speed up as crazy and just passed us. So they jumped on him immediately. So we were not like a point of attention anymore. So we ended up in the airport, got our stuff. We had only like 1 suitcase per person. That's it. We left everything. And so yeah, going inside the airport, get rid of the luggage. We are standing in this line. It's not that many people at this time. My wife, she went through. Everything is clean. I wait a bit for a few more people just to go through in front of me, and then I went. And here was kind of really a lovely moment. The young officer, she's not an officer, like a sergeant or something. She's sitting inside this booth, the passport booth on a border control. She got my passport. She looked at me. Then she looked at passport again. Then she looked at the system, and then she called the supervisor. And I felt like that's it. That's over. So and I kind of showed my wife, just get out. So she was not moving at all. Supervisor arrived, and he looked at me. He looked at the document, looked at the system, looked at her, and then said to me like, "Ah, you were exchange student." In Russian, I said like, "Yep." And it was indication that this guy was in touch with my kind of mentor, and my guy knew that I was here in States before I joined the academy, and I was exchange student. So yeah, he told her, just let him go, and that's it. So we ended up. We've got on our flight. After we took off, I was nervous, and honestly, I just bought I bought a small bottle of cognac. No commercial here. I'm not going to tell you a brand. Well, before we landed in Frankfurt, it already was empty, and I was sober as glass. Like that's didn't hit me at all. I'm not sure it was made in Poland, but it was. I mean, I thought it was a French one, but still, kind of, it was no impact at all. So yeah, it was kind of lovely chat in with the German border guys in Frankfurt. Then we've got our flight to Dominican Republic, and at night we landed there. So questions?
Yeah, I mean a couple. Well, so basically, you didn't want to play ball, and an oligarch basically said you have 3 options. But in reality, you had 2 options. They were just kind of setting you up to catch you at the border,
right.
And they're going to smear your reputation,
put you in jail,
accuse you, or if he's lucky.
Well, jail is the best option.
Yeah, if he's lucky, yeah. And so you escaped. And what happened in Germany? Like you don't have a German visa, or like I mean, you don't.
No, you don't have to. Like
okay,
that Frankfurt airport is really amazing spot. It's as airport is not that great, but it's a transition point.
Okay.
So we picked the Dominican Republic. The only reason is as far as possible. So we're going to have at least like in a gap of 12 hours plus till the figure out is going to be like at least another 12. So you have a day at least. Plus, it's far from Russia and no need for visa. So Dominican Republic, it's a really, no one cares about this place. Sorry for Dominicans, but it's a great island. But realistically, no attention from Russian government. So, and there is no Russian embassy in it. It's just a council. It's just some. I guess it's a council, but she's not a. Back then, she was not. Was a person not a Russian citizen. It was like local Dominican who was just doing this work. So that was the kind of the option. Just go as far as you can. As for kind of this mystery question everyone is asking, like where are the Neumann's treasure? Like where are the money which like FSB said that you took from the bank? Guys, we're left with the $15,000. That's it, cash. Not much than that. So we've got into Dominican Republic. We while we've been in Frankfurt, we booked the hotel in there. We spent only we check in because it was middle of the night, so it was pretty easy and fast. So no one saw us. It took us like next morning we woke up and we checked out completely. So we left the place. We found the local lady, German lady. She was running some small properties around the kind of in the area where we were, and she rented for cash without any contract for us. Small, they call it villa, but basically it's just a kind of a small bungalow. It's like just 2 rooms and some dining room, and this is it. So just pretty small. So yeah, we've got local phones, we've got local bank account, which was totally doable, and no one. We had a kind of we did some trick with the documents anyway. So and I can't give you details because you will see the story in a graphic novel. So
right,
no.
There's going to be a graphic novel of Jan's story. So if anybody's curious,
yeah, it's so we've got all this was settled. We rented the car, the local one, for which I used the one of the cover passports because they require you to leave them a passport. So I left one, and kind of it was not a big deal. So yeah, and then we just kind of we got the local burner phones. I still had a few people in touch back in Russia who've been kind of giving us information of what's going on. Yeah, I mean, as for something which we had with us, I had a few. We're not preparing for leave, so I didn't have like other defectors maybe had like a piles of the secret documents, like 2 suitcases. So in my case, I had only like 2 hard drives. But again, with nothing to do with like super state classified shit. It was more about like financial operations and clientele and so on, which I guess has more sense than some other things. And we've been kind of waiting what is going to be next, what we should do, trying to kind of understand what we can do in this case. Like we're limited on the finance, not that many ways where we're going to go, but there are still some options we've been kind of checking. I honestly reached out to the person whom I knew, and he was in Europe. And the guy was one of the clients with whom we've been working. So he was the guy who was receiving some money. I asked him for like what's going on and maybe he can help out. But he said that they already reached out to him and I just asked him, don't do shit. Just like, yeah, you don't end up in any trouble. So anyways, from this moment, we understood that basically that's it. We need to come up with something. It was extremely tough, painful, and it's hard to describe. It's like you are making a step into this space. That's it. It's like the decision you have to make. If you're going to go and get in touch with Americans, you're going to make it even worse than it is right now.
Right.
So by all means, especially for you with all this background and trainings, that was not the easy choice for sure. and again, go to the stereotype. Of course, I had a day of drinking and thinking what I can do with it, but it is how it is. So yeah, we made a choice, and then it was kind of pretty funny moment. We went to the Santo Domingo, to the local capital, American embassy. In a graphic novel, you see me in like whatever it is, like a cowboy hat. Reality, I had a like a Panama hat, looks like the guy from like Professor from Indiana Jones hat,
Yeah.
like the small one with the pins on it. I had a camera, like a big camera on my chest. I was in jeans and a flops. And a t-shirt. My wife, she was dressed like as a basic tourist. We got into the line. There were a lot of people from, I guess, Venezuela. It was like a something situation there. So a lot of really rich Venezuelans were trying to get into the United States through Dominican Republic. I'm not sure how it works out, but that's how it was. And a bunch of the guys in the yellow jackets standing outside, speaking Spanish only, kind of guiding these guys from Venezuela where to go. My wife, she kind of disclaimer, she speaks Spanish. So they asked us what we're up to. I said, like, she said that we want to talk with the security personnel. They start to ask some bunch of the stupid questions, and we just kind of like the auto machine, just asking the same thing. Just we need to talk with the security personnel without going into details. So I guess this guy in the yellow jacket algorithm just burned down, and he brought the guy from security personnel, which was again Dominican guy, local guy. We Victoria been asking him, and of telling him that we need to talk with an American person from the security. The guy was playing the Stonewall. I guess he was just following his instructions. I was listening for it for about like 10 minutes. And then with my lovely Austrian accent, I just asked him, can we speak with someone from American embassy? Like American, not you. So the guy maybe took it as a threat, but he went inside. Then he came back, he picked us up, we went inside, like across the line. Line was kind of already saying something. So anyways, we got in, and it was a person, don't go with gender, I think male or female, doesn't matter. So anyways, she asked who we are. I just decided not to say anything. I just opened my backpack, which I had with me, and it was my credential right on the bottom. I just opened it. She looked down at my backpack and asked the local guy just to disappear. And then she just walked with us without saying anything into, let's say, location, where we had a quick and lovely chat. And then we arranged the meeting. So the person was from agency, of course, and later, about several hours later, we had a meeting with her. We discussed the way we're going to communicate, and we went back to our place. Just by following the instructions, we get rid of our place. So we lost some money because we paid in front, but it was not a big deal at all. So we the kind of idea was to find something different, and it was really interesting. We're always kind of driving from our place. We've been driving for like a long fence, which was some property under construction next to the ocean. And again, some kind of another 7 cents. I just said, I saw like a brand new Escalade, white one, with one person inside. It was just turning inside this property. And I just decided, okay, I'm gonna follow it. And I had like a red color Toyota 4Runner, which rented one. And I just followed the guy, security guy on the gates, local guy. He was too slow to close it, so I just got in right behind the Escalade. And the guy from Escalade just stepped out, and he was surprised to see us in the car, like what the hell is happening, and end up he's the owner of the property. And I was just straightforward. I asked him, can we rent a place here? Security guy was saying like was screaming something, but the owner just showed him just to shut up. Owner was speaking perfect English, but he's local Dominican guy. And he said, well, we're still under construction. I said like, well, but we really need it. And I guess I'm not sure what this guy was up to, but he's like, look at us. And I said, okay, we can do it. So we've got a really great apartment for really cool price. It's a 2 buildings standing like that and one behind. Ocean from our place was about like 40 yards. No one is around. It's completely empty. Only 2 units being occupied. So one in this building is we are, another one right across to us, and then a penthouse on a building we're standing this way. So no one, which is absolutely perfect. A guy asked no questions, never asked for any documents. He just took the cash. We paid 2 months in front. That's it. Everyone was happy. So he gave us the keys and showed us the place, and we've been staying there. Even he said and he asked us a really interesting question. We have few options. Like we have an open garage, we have a parking lot, or we have a garage. I think you guys prefer the garage to put your car in it. We said yeah. How do you know?
Yeah.
So he brought us later on the same day some kind of basket of fruits and some bottle of wine. Next morning he came to us. We had a chat, and we kind of became friendly. He never was asking what we're up to, but he offered us to go to his ranch. He has like a rancher, and with the caves in it and all kind of in a swimming pool and everything. So I'm not sure what this guy was up to, but he was for sure doing something not quite legal.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess he understood at the same time that we're in the same mode as he is. We're just kind of trying to stay away as possible from people. So yeah, that was a perfect timing. So another several weeks we just spent there. Of course, agency guys been communicating with us. We had a few burner phones. I found myself busy with doing kite surfing. And kind of the thing is, while we've been in this place, we changed our image slightly. So I painted my hair into the blonde, same as my eyebrows, and I had a beard. So I look like the kiter, whatever it is, the guy, like a hipster from Sweden or something. And Victoria changed her style as well. We get rid of our clothes, and we got the stuff from local, like a kiting shop, like rip curl things. So we completely matched with the local population. And this type of the island, everyone was doing like kite surfing and windsurfing. So it's kind of pretty nice. I'm not sure why, but people have been calling me Dutch. No idea what was the point of it. Even I'm not speaking any word in Dutch. So that's just, I don't know what this is about, but anyways. So then kind of we started to this communication thing with the agency guys. The guy who was the head of station, he was so excited because he said that's basically, he thought all his life he's gonna spend here and just sit and run for some drug traffickers and some other nonsense things to do. Now he has a real spiky since he's so happy about this, because that was just basically like a breaking point. he can do something. We had quite a few lovely chats and some meetings. So yeah, and then after some time, agency decided to do the extraction. But for you to understand, our initial deal was, we can't say we're defectors to the United States. It's just quite not true. We never thought to be in the United States, just to make it clear. Initial deal with the agency was, we have something which you really need, and they admitted as well. We're gonna help you to bust this global network of the money laundering. And even some of these accounts been going into the United States, but still, it's that's what we can help you with, and they've been willing to take it. That's what they've been looking for, but in exchange of some kind of a financial support and give us identities from the third country, which is we will plan to have something European, something small and nice. Mm-hmm. So being honest with you, but later on, by the way, this thing is freaked out FBI, because for them to have a flower shop, it means you're going to take the orders on some assassinations. I guess they still kind of this Irish and thing, and from New York or Chicago. But that's what they asked me what my plan is. The agency guys said well, I mean, I'm gonna go low and I might gonna open some flower shop in Lisbon or somewhere else. It's honestly just literally modest life and quiet thing, just disappear. For FBI, it was a red flag. They thought it's gonna be some kind of you want to take the orders. It's what kind of orders? I mean,
right.
So so anyways, yeah, kind of and then we had to disappear from Dominican Republic. We had inside this property this dinner with the owner. We shake the hands, and he said anytime we're going to be there, we know where to find him. It was that was nice and lovely. Then we went down to the south of the island, met with the agency guys, and then the whole unpleasant water journey started.
Let's get into that, but first we got a bunch of user questions. A bunch of viewers had questions for you. Andrew said, could Jack and Dave both attempt their best Russian accents and have Jan rate them on a scale of 1 to 10? I can't do my Boris and Natasha. I'll just embarrass myself.
I was just thinking of Boris and Natasha. I think that's the only. Yeah.
You can go with the what is Black Widow.
I haven't seen it yet.
Same as I am. Just my kid watched it. But he fell in love. For him right now, Scarlett Johansson, as he's saying, that's the best actress ever. So he got his first crush on his toddler.
For him right now.
Jackson says, how does Alpha Group compare to Vimple, and how do these units compare to top American counterterrorism units like Delta and SEAL Team 6 and HRT?
I guess, I'm not sure how much work Wimpel is doing on the sea, but Wimpel is more diversion group. So they've been initially designed as a sabotage and diversion group, which is supposed to operate outside the Russian Federation. They're really well trained, and the guys got the full scale of training, is what I know based on my communication and the work with them. So I would have put them higher than Alpha. So in Wimpel more equal, I'm not sure, guys, like maybe SEALs or Rangers, I don't know. Like there's as a diversion sabotage operations with the multiple languages. I don't know. I guess it's up to you. You know this better than I am. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that's kind of the legacy of the old Soviet era Spetsnaz units that you would have small.
Spetsnaz is a general term.
Right, special forces. But the concept that you would have like a 4-man team go behind enemy lines and wage sabotage and strategic reconnaissance and things like that.
That sounds more like a special forces mission than like a Ranger or a Delta mission. It's
Delta and Rangers, maybe this could be like a GRU special ops or GRU intel operations. So because they have their own special ops units. As for Alpha, this is anti-terror, and they're really great. I guess they're among the best ones in the world. I'm not sure who's doing this work here in States. You guys know who can do, like, if you have a hostage situation, really kind of a complex one, who will do the job?
Be HRT.
Yeah, if it's CONUS within the continental United States, it'll be HRT. The FBI, their hostage rescue team.
Well, kind of this, but at the same time, Alpha is doing a lot of field work as well. So they've been trained. Like, for example, in the Soviet Afghan campaign, Alpha was doing like really recon missions and going behind the enemy lines as well.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to say. It's kind of a gray area.
Out of curiosity, with all the funding issues, like you guys were having, not getting paychecks, like those types of operations, and those takes an immense amount of training and a huge training budget to stay proficient in. Were they having issues with that also, or was that money?
No, not. From earlier, as I said, like when the recent president took it over, he started to invest his time, money, and his will into to reset the whole system. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about the Yeltsin thing, guys. No, that was absolute mayhem. It was absolute disaster. Lots of the guys even left service. Uh-huh. Almost like the Yeltsins. I don't have any good words about this idiot. Realistically, like, look, he has blood on his hands from the first Chechen campaign. It's on him. He provoked it.
I mean, he was drunk like 24/7.
Not true. He was obsessed with power. He was paranoid. He was I don't know. Like, I don't want to go in this direction. Like, I promise my wife and my friends are not going to comment anything on the politics, because otherwise it's going to end up in F words. No.
Again, you can use all the F words you want. Like, nobody will stop you.
Then I'm going to have a tomorrow conversation with my agent. Not going to happen.
Fair enough.
All right.
You're going to put me in trouble. Probably publisher is going to complain about this as well. So no.
I'll move on to the next question.
Yeah.
Did you say the did you say the FSB used a case method in training? If not, did they use a case method in training?
What's the case method?
By which I mean a heavy emphasis on past operations. So I guess using case studies from the past.
Of course. Yes, of course. I mean, there is a special discipline. You have to learn all these operations from like 1920s, how they've been going. Look, guys, you have to understand. I mean, not you know that. But as for viewers, realistically, methods methodology and techniques didn't change much. It was written and created years and years ago. What we have right now, this already core of knowledge, was just adopting on a daily base to what like on the recent threats and what's going on right now. So all of these gadgets is just an addition to already was exist for like past 80 years.
Right.
So it's just kind of that's the thing. So yes, you have to study, you have to learn how it works, and of course there are a bunch of the similarities. And at the same time, it's really interesting. Like honestly, that's extremely interesting to learn how it was and how people before us been able to operate, for example, without cell phones, without radio stations, without computers, without access to the data. When they had to communicate through like call, honey, please connect me with the headquarters or something. So we'll give me some numbers such and such. No access to the archives immediately, so you have to fly physically and get the access to it. No ability to send the photos back and forward. Like, you just look at this, it's just completely different dimension. And how much we went, like, it was like 80 years ago, almost nothing, like 100 years ago, right? And what we have right now.
Right.
It's just complete different dimension. So, but methods and techniques, the way they've been thinking, the way they've been operating, didn't change much. It's still the same. Even look at the human's behavior, the profiling you're doing right now, the human types of human and their behavior and the way they're acting, the way they're doing things didn't change much at all. It was in the before the Christ era, and now you can find a lot of similarities. And people are people. And they're doing a lot of bunch of this dumb stuff, and they're doing even same mistakes. So, yeah, of course you have to study it.
You studied tradecraft, and you also studied the CIA's use of tradecraft, in the past. When you
cool thing. Yeah, go ahead.
When you actually met with CIA officers, did they meet
across the table?
Right, but also
I was investigator.
What I mean though is when you were in the DR, when you're in the Dom Rep, and you were doing these clandestine meetings, were they meeting your expectations? You're like, oh, they're not. Like, is this? Would they tell you, okay, we're going to do this? You go, yeah, I already know that. Or, like, what was that experience for you, having studied them and worked against them?
Well, this made my life easier because I know what to expect. And this actually made our communication with them way easier because without that, it would have been more like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Like, we don't know what they're going to do. But as long as you know the way they're gonna do things, and they know the way you're doing things, it's more like we're just pretending and super secret. But at the same time, we all know what's going on.
It's just business.
So, it's just business. Like, I mean, look, one of the best moments, Dominican Republic, our first official meeting with the local head of station, kind of official. So we gave us direction, the spot, and they gave him absolutely same directions and spot, and they call him. You're going to meet them, and they told us that you're going to meet him behind the firewall. It's just a generic description which came from the headquarters. Here's a reality check. It's a hypothetical and reality. In reality, there was no firewall at all. So none, like in this building. It's Dominican Republic, guys, after all. It's not America. It's not some kind of a supermarket or mall inside the United States. Anyways. So we found the best solution we could get. We got inside. We on the top floor, second floor, we found the small like a bookstore. So, and because guy had no pictures of us, we thought like how he gonna identify us, because we saw someone who was just going through them stairs, just trying to figure out what's going on. So my wife made a really smart move. She took it was a book in Spanish about Russian nature. So basically the whole picture of like Siberia with some bears and the snow, I just opened this book because it was a big one with the pictures, and I just sit like next to the stairs, like with this book. So imagine who in the Dominican Republic will be reading the book about Russian winter. So we saw the guy was going back and forward, look at us, look at the book, came to us and said, you are? I said, yes, we are. So he said like he was going there like for 30 minutes trying to find the fucking firewall, but it's not exist at all. So that's... kind of sometimes the instructions are coming and they're not even matching the reality. So you have to come up with some solution how you can deal with it.
That's really cool.
Alejandro says, growing up on the other side of the Iron Curtain, what is your view of Americans, particularly Kalashnikov owners, who are obsessed with Russian society or pretend to be Russian, what would you tell them?
My view back then or my view right now on these people?
It's kind of, yeah, it's both questions, I think.
Well, back when I was in school, and it was like literally like a peak of the Cold War in '80s, we thought that you guys gonna bury us, and we plan to bury you. So the Sting song is pretty right on. So we have more missiles than you are, and at some point we're gonna destroy each other. But it was not towards American people; it was more towards the political system. So there was no such thing as creating negativity or hate movement against the Americans inside the Soviet Union. Again, based on what I was experiencing. Also, I grew up in downtown Moscow, and I was playing hockey in the winter. They had a small pond downtown. Guess what? A lot of guys from Canadian and American embassy been playing hockey with us. So we had guys from the Czechoslovakia, and it was Czechoslovakia back then. Embassy, the Swedes and Finns, they've been coming and to play with us. It was no tension at all. I'm not sure, maybe KGB guys were skating there too, but I mean, as a kid, I never seen them, and I was not paying attention to them, that's for sure. We just been kind of enjoying the sports. As by the way, that's the way how I learned my bad language, bad words in English, playing hockey with these guys, and they learned the same way the bad words in Russian. So that was kind of cool. But again, it was nothing between the people. The Soviet ideology was working towards that American government and American capitalists are trying to screw American people, and they are just people who are trying to have a normal life and work hard for the future of their kids, and they have nothing to do with politics. I'm not sure how it was in here in States. And of course, I watched a lot of, not a lot of, like quite a few movies about the bad American spies who penetrated Soviet Union trying to steal our secrets or get into some, which was actually motivation to at some point to join the service as well. Yeah, because you guys are bad, you're trying to steal from us, so we don't, so same. And then we learn like, okay, well, we are bad too because we're trying to steal from you, but we're doing this for a better idea, for the communism, and you're doing this for just for money. So that's just, it's like, yeah, it's like you Americans are spies and we are intelligence personnel, and you guys think, yeah, Russians are spies, we're intelligence personnel.
Right.
That's a big difference, like being a spook or being an intelligence officer.
Right.
So yeah, as for now, well, look, to let people understand that they're doing something wrong, and especially that they are going into really like extremely left ideas, I would suggest if US government can arrange a deal with the North Korea and send people there for at least a few weeks just to get like a full dive inside the Soviet system, just to understand how this was. For after that, you already can talk to them, and maybe they can understand that it's bad to follow some stupidity and just better to reset themselves. As for a case, I mean, that's a great rifle, honestly. I love it. It's really reliable. It's really kind of a cool thing. And yeah, I mean, I still think after all these years, I still can just reassemble it with my closed eyes. By the way, in Portland, Oregon, it was really fun. Local guys from the SWAT team, they kind of like Boy Scouts, and headquarters told them, do not give these guys guns. So what they've done after they received this order, they brought us on the range and they brought lots of the weapons with them. Among them were a bunch of like stuff which they seized from the bad guys, and some Yugoslavian AKs, some MP5s, whatever it was. We spent kind of quite a few great days with them just shooting this.
Yeah,
it was really cool and nice. So yeah. It ended up that my wife is shooting gun better than I am, but I am better with a rifle than some of the guys. So,
Jim says, is vodka therapy still part of the Russian culture? What percentage of the Russian government leadership are serious alcoholics? I mean, this is a bit of a racial stereotype.
Well, no, a status.
Let me answer. Yeah. According to the statistics, the most drinking nation in Europe is Poland. So Russia is way behind them. Past several years, they started to go down. Alcohol and consuming alcohol, it was a sign that something is really unhealthy going on inside the country. It means that politically and economically and socially as well. So yes, late of 80s, when all this drama started with the Soviet Union, and early 90s, it was absolute disaster because people were looking for a way out of this disaster,
The system.
of the strategy. So that's why there was a lot of consuming of the alcohol. As for vodka, well, I'm not sure it's a national drink at all. But guys in Finland drinking, you should see them in Leningrad on St. Petersburg. They're going there for vacation, like on the weekends. So trust me, if you can see the drunk bum leaning on the ground, it's not a Russian guy, it's a Finnish guy. So that's like in 99% of the cases, or Swede. So yeah, you should just go and check this out. So as for guys, again, no offense to the Suomi guys and then the Swedish, I love you, but I mean your behavior in St. Petersburg is a disaster. So Russians are not doing this. Trust me, we behave better than they are. As for kind of on mind, I have a really cool story about kind of vodka related. When the COVID started, and I was we've been locked at home, we all guys have to kind of sit inside our places, and I was working on several projects, writing them. I was kind of going with the Russian white. Of course, it was vodka involved and some milk and some Kahlua. And the only reason I was doing this because I felt like I should not show my kid that I'm drinking alcohol. Like I need to kind of come up with something like cool and sweet.
Right.
At the same time, my kid, he was not really a big fan of milk at all. Like it was no way we can push him to drink milk. But then he saw that his dad is drinking milk on a daily basis and always in a good mood because of that. He started to drink milk. So now my kid is still drinking milk, but I had to quit from the Russian white because it already was too much. And it was like within 2 months of me consuming this Russian white thing, my kids started to drink milk normally.
That's funny.
Parenting
some
101.
point, yeah, at some point vodka was helpful. So yes,
It's funny because I haven't heard, like, it's not a popular drink here in the States, but when I was growing up, White Russian was my dad's drink of choice. Like that was what he made at home. That was what he drank, was the white.
it's pretty cool. It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
And it's,
Jerry says, not only in Russia, my country, also after 1989, what a mess. Hope you feel better now. Yeah, a lot of that part of the world. Alejandro says, oh, and as always, working in the field that you did, how much do you think a giraffe goes for on the black market? Thank you for coming. Sort of an inside joke there. I don't know if you have any insight from your time at the bank.
well, no idea. That's a good question. No. I still remember what percentage they've been taking from each operation. That's I do remember.
Really?
some numbers, yeah, and some numbers of it all depends on the time of the year, how often people are working, how much they're sending, what currency they want to have, what quality of the currency they want to have. They want to have like a brand new dollars or euros, or they can take the used ones. Some percentage can go up and down. How far they want to send the money, and if people can't provide any documents for like any kind of help with any kind of paperwork, then you have to kind of charge them more. So percentage rate depends upon the number, currency, where to go. It's a cash in or operation, or it's a transfer somewhere else. It depends upon the number of the shell companies you're going to use. Was going between like 12 to 2% per operation.
For each shell that it would pass through?
No, for the whole thing.
Okay.
But it's still a lot.
Well, I mean, in addition to the art and the jewelry, I mean, with the oligarchs, and everybody knows that oligarchs like their, exclusive stuff, was there an exotic animal trade in Russia?
Maybe it was not my unit. That's
Okay.
question to the cops. So like border patrol guys. That's not like no. I've kind of in my case the most scary thing was, and maybe more entertaining, was some radioactive materials. Some samples of this stuff. Look, Soviet Union collapsed, and
Right.
a lot of this stuff ended up like in research institutes or some labs outside the Russia. And Russia, it was pretty strict control over it. Even through this catastrophic time in 90s, they still were able to keep it locked and under control. But in some countries with the Stan in the end, former Soviet republics, or some, for example, Ukraine, where everything went on sale immediately, or Belarus, like in the first part before the Lukashenko took it over, Moldova, of course. That was a disaster. Lots of the stuff was kind of went into the dark market. In research labs, they had some samples of radioactive materials, but this sample is enough to create a dirty bomb, like small one, or kill a person. So if we had a case when one businessman killed his competitor with a radioactive material. He basically put it somehow inside his competitor's office chair, like into this metal tube under it. So the guy died later on from the fourth stage of the cancer in his bottom part.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it was rough. So that's not easy.
Jerry asks, and he says, "Did you have an aluminum seal for your safe in office?" I don't know. Was that a thing? I don't know what he's talking about there.
Yeah, it's like on your keychain you have a small thing with a number, identification number. Yes, I mean that's a pretty classic one. It's not guys. It's not a KGB thing at all. It was an overall Soviet culture. It's in office work. Everyone who had the safe had his own seal. Of course, they had the same thing inside the KGB as well. But some accountants in some factories, they had the same thing. With just kind of different insignia and different stamp on it. But yes.
Andrew says, "Do you miss having the cover police credentials?"
Well, I still have my police one. And I guess if we're going to film Red Heat 2, I can play the Arnold with this, like in New York, just showing this. But
Here's my invitation.
Maybe later on, this one is going to go to Spy Museum because, according to them, I'm just like among the guys who are like a walking exhibit. So we will see. So they might end up there.
So here's this is kind of a crazy question. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but Andrew asks if you could share if you have any thoughts about Jeffrey Epstein. There's some really crazy stuff he had going on. Do you think there's an espionage angle to that story?
Okay, you said I can say bad words, right?
Yes.
There is a special slang terminology. If you want to make a case heavy and more interesting for your supervisors, you always can hang on counterintelligence balls on it. So technically, yes, we can say there maybe spies been involved, and let's make it as spooky as possible. But realistically, I have no any information about that, and it's far away from my expertise because honestly, I was not following this. It's not what I kind of know. That's not. I have no answer for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to make something as spooky as possible, you can put the counterintelligence or spy thing into anything.
Sure.
That's just.
Alejandro says, when you worked for the FSB, what weapon were you issued? An old PM Makarov or a newer weapon? And he says, again, thank you for your time and coming on the show.
PM, and it's total crap. Yes. Everyone was complaining about that, and everyone is, as I was reading in articles, everyone is happy that they changed it finally.
Jerry's asking, can you tell which Bratva guys you met?
Well, we, as I said, Credit Impact Bank been working with the guys from Ivankov's and Usayan group. So I'm not sure what exactly branch they are, whatever it is, and who they are. We, as myself and my FSB guys with my team who've been attached to the bank, we've been not dealing with them directly. The bank owner's been dealing with them. We've been present at some meetings, but kind of that was none of our business. Let them do it. Mm-hmm. So the main goal was to, we know it's happening. We know they are cooperating, but our kind of directions were, do not get involved in this crap because it's like, don't get into it. That's it. I mean, so it's not my what was not my focus.
Yeah.
Andrew says that doesn't sound like a lovely conversation at all. He's referring to the final conversation with the head of the bank.
Well, no, you guys, no one was screaming, no one was pointing fingers on or pointing gun on you.
It could have been worse.
Pretty normal, intelligent conversation when you have people they talking about some possible options. And just like you and I are gonna chat right now, no one is gonna blink in an eye. it's just a business, like nothing personal. So
Well-
it's not a movie.
That might have been about the conversation with the bank. It might also have been about your conversation with your wife. When you got home, how did you like tell her that what went down?
Well, the good news about my wife, she's got the same trainings I said, as I am, even better. So we can discuss some things without going into panic.
Right.
And I'm really happy about that. The kind of one side effect I can say, in our house, we never asking how was your day because we know it. So kind of it was kind of this thing is kind of out of plate at all. So we don't need to say anything like that's. So I initially I was of course I was nervous. I'm not just the kind of I'm not the idiot who kind of going in a stone wall and say we're going to leave. No, I had some of course emotion and but she took it as it is. Like there is no way out. Like we have to do something. That's it. So it was no panic, no tears, nothing. She was. In this moment, she was acting as a professional. I guess that's what I can say. Like that's and that's great.
Soulful Disco says, cheers to the Team House and Mr. Jan Neumann. He's enjoying the interview. Thank you, man. CC says he's loving the interview. Andrew says, vodka and chocolate milk is not bad either. I guess that's one way to make a white Russian.
Small recipe from Dominican Republic, which guys for doing the kiting and the surfing taught me. We had long evenings like doing the chat, and I again still no idea why they been calling it Dutch, but anyways, cocktail calls Lumumba, and it was chocolate ice cream, some ice, it was Kahlua, it was vodka, they add some milk in it, and it was some other liquor with a chocolate taste in it as well. So it was like, maybe in a whiskey, it was a kind of a killing thing. So one glass is gonna put down the elephant, but it was, and a glass there, it was like size big, like a beer glass, but it's really tasty.
That sounds amazing.
That's amazing. Like, yeah, I mean, one was enough for me, and then you have to like at least like 30 minutes just to stay on your fifth button, just to be sure that you can walk after it. So
Jerry says Mola debts I had also. Do you remember your number?
Yes, but I'm not going to tell you.
Alejandro's saying we missed some questions, but if there are,
go ahead, guys. Ask.
If there are, I can't see them. Yeah, I don't know if it like times out or you can't get to them on the chat.
I didn't see that we missed.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Okay, so one more. This is the last question I'm going to take. Alejandro asks, he's asking about your wife, if you met at workplace romance, and we haven't really gone in depth. Could you talk about that a little bit, how you guys met and how that happened?
Yeah, I slightly abused my status as in a higher rank than she was. So I was with several guys from the special ops. We've been punished for some activity. It went a bit out of books, and we've been sent into the kids summer camp as a punishment. So my partner was sent to North Caucasus for 6 months, and I was sent for several months into the kids camp. Honestly, based on what he was telling me, I'm not sure what was better, to go to the North Caucasus or stay in this kids camp. Because where he was stationed, there was on top of the mountains, they had the fresh meat and the wine almost on a daily basis. Nothing was happening. They're not going much anywhere. And locals guys been really supportive because they've been trying to avoid any confrontation with the federal forces. As for my thing, it was directly ordered to the head of this camp colonel, do not let us out, means me and the few guys from the special ops, because we are on a punishment. So we should not go back to the office by all means. So keep us inside. It means because we're out of his jurisdiction, he can't give us any orders. We've been drinking and behaving quite not well, even inside this facility. So yeah, and Victoria, she was there as a summer practice, like more like psychologist, just to do some work. And of course, kind of, yeah, I noticed her, and that's how the whole thing started. So yeah, that's yeah.
We actually had, I think it was because of the lag that people didn't hear his last question, and we got two last You want to do these two last ones, and then we'll...
Yeah, go ahead, guys.
Okay, yeah, two more. Jan, does it surprise you that Gorbachev was never assassinated? I know a lot of the older Soviets and even new Russians consider him to be the main reason for the dissolution of the Soviet Union.
The solution of the Soviet Union is not that big of a problem. The main problem is that he has blood on his hands for all of these ethnical conflicts all around the former Soviet Union. The way the Soviet Union dissolutioned or dismissed or fell apart is basically his fault, because he was not able to find the right way how to do it peacefully to avoid all these casualties and all this unnecessary blood and the conflicts all around the area, where lots of people lost their lives and families been destroyed. So that was his main fault. And my personal opinion, I think he's among of the few leaders for the Russian history who were completely not ready and incompetent to run the countryside like that. So he should stick with some kind of running some political committee in some small district somewhere in Russian South or North, wherever it is, somewhere, but not to get into the main office.
Okay, so this is for
just like
This is for real. The last question. KT asks, please ask him of his opinion of the Yuri Nosenko case, if he is familiar with it or otherwise. If not, then ask him about governor company ownership. So I don't. Do you know about the Nosenko case? Yuri Nosenko.
If guys, let's just. I mean, it's already 2.5 hours of this. It is the guy who went to the United States and then went back to the Soviet Union. Is this the one? I just don't remember.
I don't remember either.
So yeah, it's something from early 80s, I guess.
Let's see here. Yuri Nosenko was a KGB officer who defected to the United States in 1964.
And then went back.
Held in detention, was accepted. Then he became an American citizen, a consultant working as a trainer for the CIA. Concerns that he was a double agent. I'm just like breezing through the...
No, the answer is no. No, guys, that's the great question to the person whom I really know well. His name is Andrew Hammond, and he is the official curator of the International Spy Museum. Okay. Guys, if you have any questions about the history of the espionage, that's the right place to go. So that's it's
Jay,
kind of...
we really appreciate your time. We know we've kept you way over what we initially said, but we appreciate it. We appreciate everybody joining us tonight.
Yeah, I do. Jan, can I keep you just for like 10 minutes to talk about your leaving the show? So
wait, we need to know what's coming up, because we have Almost American that people can get.
Issue 1 is out now. And then Red Atlantis, the entire series.
Red Atlantis, right?
This one.
Yes. And then your story is coming out as a graphic novel.
Well, the comic books are coming out now.
Right. Yeah, right. The Almost American.
Right.
That's there. And actually, today we stopped our interview right in the moment when we
where the comic book picks up.
Basically, yes. So that's what I'm saying. Yes, that's perfect. So yeah, guys, if you want to learn how it was here in States, and there's a lot of really fun and cool moments, get the Almost American.
And where can they find that, Jan?
Everywhere. It's in all comic shops. You can go online for the Comixology. Just Google it, Almost American comic, Aftershock comics.
Yeah.
And you easily can find it. Like that's everywhere. If you are in DC area, a few days ago, I was in DC and I went to the local shop called Phantom Comics. You can easily find it, and I signed all the copies they had. So if you want to have it, you can get it there. And again, guys, if you want, that's totally up to you. If you really like some questions which been asked by viewers, maybe we can somehow arrange them one signed copy. Red Atlantis and Almost American.
Absolutely, man.
That's up to you guys. We
can do it. We do a giveaway for.
We'll figure something out for sure.
So everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon and select all notifications so you get notified next time we go live, which will be next Friday at our usual time. We're going to have on the show David Phillips, who's a New York Times journalist. He's the author of Alpha. He wrote the book about Eddie Gallagher's SEAL platoon.
It's gonna be spicy.
It's a 400-page book. I finished reading it about a week ago. It's pretty wild. So we'll be talking to David next episode. Jan, again, thank you. I'm going to ask you to stay just for like another 10 minutes for the bonus segment. And that's it, guys. That's a show. We'll see you next week, and thank you for joining us. Jan, any final things you want to plug before we go?
No, guys, it was great. I mean, I really enjoyed the conversation. I mean, if you have more questions, if you want to talk more, that's totally up to you. Guys, you can maybe arrange another interview. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'd love to.
So that's great, guys. And everyone who watches, thank you so much for your time and spending your lovely Friday evening on me. So that's, really appreciate it.
We appreciate you spending your Friday evening with us and our viewers. And you know, we don't want you to get in trouble with your wife because you've been hanging out with us so long.
I'm always in trouble. So it's